Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Hey, welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino, and today I have a special guest. His name is James Chapman. Hey, James, how are you?
I'm well. How are you today, Cesar?
I'm doing good. So let me give you a little bit of his background, and then you can get to know him and we can dive into the interview. James has spent the bulk of his career building bridges to social, capital, and financial opportunities. He began his career in workforce development for federal funded programs. He later went on to start Detroit Demo Day, which was provided over $4 million in funding to small businesses. Prior, he ran an evening workspace for Side Hustle, which led to the idea for Plain Side. Wow, that's amazing. And definitely, I always like those stories, right? And how you create something from a purpose or an idea that you had early on in your life. And so based on that, take me back a little bit of your childhood. Where are you originally from and how was your upbringing?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm born and raised. And my upbringing was, if I had to describe it in one word, I would say it was inconsistent, right? So like we moved around a lot. Which means that I was always meeting different friends and going to different schools and different environments and things of that nature. And so that inconsistency actually ended up being a gift and a curse, right? No one likes to be bouncing around a lot,
right?
But it allowed me to get experience with different cultures, different people, learn different things and different habits. And I think that all of those kind of led to my experience today with what I'm building, because I feel like I can speak so many different languages. I feel like I can be in a room with almost anybody and be able to have a meaningful conversation and be able to relate in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so I really kind of appreciate that looking back on just having the opportunities to, be around different people who didn't look like me and some that did and things of that nature. So that's how I would describe my childhood.
Yeah, and going back to that, a lot of times we all have different backgrounds and we go through different things as we're growing up. Talking about you moving around, was that because your parents were in the military, or was it more of an unstable aspect? Because I do believe, and one thing that I talk about a lot is that the things you go from the ages from 0 to 7. They really stay with you through the end of your life unless you work on some of those things. And again, it could be good stuff and it can also be things that are not so good, right? And so what was the reason for you moving around so much?
Yeah, I think it wasn't military or anything like that. It was just unstable living conditions sometimes, right? And so like my mom was a single parent, raising 2 kids and working and going to school, right? And so in the summer times, I would go live with my aunts, right? Because my mom was working all of the time trying to, make a better way for us. And so, it was always just kind of this bouncing around and being in different environments, just because my mom was trying to provide a better environment for us for the long term, right? And she knew that she had to make some short-term sacrifices, and it was going to look a little messy, right, along the way. But it ended up all working out, but that was the reason for the bouncing around so much.
Got it. And in terms of that, were there any, looking back now, were there any lessons that you say, wow, that right there, it really shaped how I ended up doing something now in the now present moment?
Yeah, I think I ended up getting into this school that was a really good school. It was one of the most respected schools in the city. Story on that, my mom had to actually camp out to get me into that school.
Wow.
So she had sleeping bag, the whole thing, because like everybody were really trying to get it. It was a new school and everybody's trying to, jockey for a position to get inside it. And so I got accepted.
Yeah.
And so I'll never forget just the cultural dynamics of being around different kids who weren't from the same kind of neighborhoods that I was from, and that kind of, it was my first time, being around white students. I'd never been into a school where there was white students there. And so I think that moment in particular of just kind of like getting this aha moment almost of like, wow, there's more of the world that's out there than what I know, right? Like there's a lot that I could learn from being able to be around different people and things of that nature, and how people think differently and that side. Even though we were all pretty young, it dawned on me very quickly from like, how they get picked up by their parents, and like the conversations that they have and the things that they wear and the food that they eat, it was all very, very different. I just started to kind of soak it all up and realize, that there's a beauty in how, my environments that I've been a part of and some of the other environments where some of the white kids that I was in school with, that they had experienced. And so I would say that moment in particular really kind of led me into what I'm building and how I think about the things that I build. So you mentioned I started that co-working space for side hustlers, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was in Chattanooga. The space is open from 6 p.m. to midnight for people to be able to come and collaborate because coffee shops closed, at 6 o'clock and that kind of stuff. And it was a very diverse set of people who were coming to the space, because now as an adult, I've made friends that are in all different walks of life and things of that nature because of how I grew up, right? And so when I invite all of these people to the space, now I've kind of created that same kind of aha moment for other people, right? Within this space, and people are sharing. I call it uncommon collisions. It's people who would not have normally been able to be in the same room together having the same conversations unless somebody or some entity kind of brings them together. And now I would say that's something that for sure led into my work and started to continue to carry on from there.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind is a lot of times from a pain, there's a purpose that's born, right? And so you talk about really getting different diversities, different cultures, different types of people, or people from different backgrounds, all kind of talking to each other. Growing up and even being in that school yourself, did you see any kind of I don't fit in kind of thing? This is, I'm not saying minority in any aspect, or maybe it could be that. I don't know. Did you feel that at any point? Because there is a lot of different cultural shocks between societies and schools and whatever you're in. And sometimes it could be a painful aspect, or it could be a lesson. And then from there, there's a purpose that is born. Was that something for them?
Yeah,
for you?
I did kind of experience that. Like I used to get in trouble a lot in school. And so I would hang out with the troublemakers. You know what I mean? Like we had our own little tribe, right? And so my grades were always good, but I just couldn't stop getting into trouble and just little mischief, whether it be joking on other kids unnecessarily or fighting or just doing all kind of inappropriate stuff, man. And so I do believe that because I was in this system, I didn't feel like I fit. I didn't feel like I fit in with some of the other crowds, that were there. I felt like, this little crowd of the troublemakers was kind of, my tribe, so to speak. And so, that was very, very interesting to see kind of how we all grew up and developed, along the way. And we all kind of shifted and matured and things of that nature as time started to go on, but still being able to be very aware of our surroundings. So, that was something that I was also very thankful for, just the lessons that I learned along the way and correcting some of that behavior.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of going back, to some recent events, right, with COVID, there's a lot of isolation, people not being able to connect, or, you got to stay in, and specifically more on last year, 2020. One of the things that you did, which was pretty amazing, and probably one of your biggest challenges that you had to overcome, was really to be able to raise $500,000 for a startup during the pandemic and doing that for in-person networking. Tell me more about that challenge, because I do believe that one thing that comes to mind is that during 2020 specifically, I tell people that a lot of times, people were like, well, prior to that, they were like, there's not enough time for me to go after a dream, or there's not enough time for me to work out, or there's not enough time to whatever, X, Y, and Z. And when this took place, or when this started, time was not an issue. And I always tell people, if you came out of the pandemic or this COVID without having any new lessons or anything new that you could do in your life, it wasn't a lack of time, it was a lack of discipline. And so I think that the discipline is very critical when it comes down to being able to do what you did, which is raising $500,000. So tell me more about that experience.
Yeah, for sure. COVID really did a number on me and my team. I mentioned the co-working space. That's what led to the idea for Plainsight to begin with. We wanted to be able to have technology that could allow people to make connections with one another when they were in a shared space. And so networking events were pretty popular for us when we launched. And so it was like travel lounges, like Delta Sky Lounges. You could check in there and meet the people that were there, right? And all of that stuff went away when COVID hit, right? There are no networking events. Right. There is no travel. People are going to, to Sky Lounges and that kind of stuff and meeting new people. And so we could have quit, right? The logic solution would have actually been to quit. But we decided that we wanted to persevere and try to find some way to provide value to people, even though they were stuck at home, right? And so what that looked like for us was two things. One, started to list some virtual spaces and virtual communities for people to be able to check in and network with each other from afar, from a distance, right? And then two, if there was a physical space that was listed on the platform, we started to show the clean and safety precautions that space was taking to make you feel a little bit more confident and comfortable with actually going into that space, right? And so with that approach, we were able to raise money. We ended up raising the money that we needed to continue to stay in the business and continue to operate and continue to move forward. And so to your point, I think that without discipline, right, we could have easily, just packed it up and said, we're done and we're out of here. But we wanted to stay very disciplined and very true to our mission, regardless of the circumstances. And COVID was, it was awful for everyone. Right, like we lost people. People no longer here with us. A lot of people got sick. A lot of people lost their jobs and things of that nature. And there were so many distractions. Even like with the race, relation stuff that was going on in the country all last of 2022. That was so evident and blatant because we're all just kind of sitting here watching the television, right, and seeing all of these things. We don't have anything else to do. And so it was very trying for a number of reasons, but to your point, I think discipline and staying true to our value and our mission was how we're able to overcome and be able to raise the money that we needed to stay in the business.
Yeah. Talk about, not quitting and persevering through it, right? Whether it's business or is personal, I believe that that's one of our biggest challenges as people. And so just give me maybe a couple of lessons. I think that what got you to continue to not quit on your business and your team and continue to push through and persevere above all could probably be applicable to if you're going through a challenge as a person, right? What was in that moment, like, again, you could have lost everything. You could have just, logically said, you know what, screw this, I'm going to go try something different or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
What was it though, specifically that said, you know what, a lot of times people, Tony Robbins or other people talk about what is your why, what is your purpose, and you talk about your mission, your value, right? So maybe talk about what is that mission, what is that value that you have, your core values, and what got you to not quit?
Yeah, I think for me, I realized that I'm only in a position that I'm in now because of the meaningful connections that I've been able to make with people along the way. We talk about from when I was a kid and being able to experience different cultures and environments and talk to different people. Some of those people who've opened doors for me even today, as an adult and things of that nature. And I truly believe that your network is your net worth. And it takes allowing people to be able to make relevant connections for them so that they can grow in their business. And I still believe that today. And I believe that even though COVID hit, And so because I couldn't let go of that belief that I was the person or one of the people who were best suited to be able to solve this problem of helping people grow their network with other like-minded individuals, I just could not quit on that. I kept thinking about my past experiences. I kept thinking about all the people who, would always say, I just need to get in the right room with the right people, or, had a right seat at the table with the right people. And so, that I still believe in that too much. And I know it to be true because I've experienced it myself. And so that's really my mission and my core value, man, is to just allow people to have access to human capital that they need to be able to achieve their goals and their aspirations. And it's just something I couldn't let go of.
Yeah, yeah. I look what you talked about it, and your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that's true. And as you mentioned, last year, not being able to have a lot of those networking events, I'm one of those people love to go and connect with people and just really do that. And obviously, you got to find different ways to do that. How do you define, though, in your terms, your net worth, the people that are within you, the average five?
Yeah.
How would you define that, and how do you find those people?
Yeah. First off, it's really hard trying to find them, right? Like, I recently posted a blog on how networking gets broken the other day, because it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You go into a networking event and there's 100 people in the room, and you might talk to 3 people, right? And it's all just luck of the draw. Maybe you just talk to the closest standing next to you at the bar, and it's awkward, and sometimes you pretend to be on your phone and all of this kind of stuff, right? And so you really have to join communities, right? First, figure out what your core values are, and then find those communities that are out there that you want to be a part of, right? And then once you get within a community that you feel like you belong to, then you just have to put in the work and try to meet people. And the biggest thing that I tell people to do is don't be a taker, right? Be somebody who gives. Give before you ask for things. But because I think that once people see you as a giver and somebody who can add value, then people are going to naturally start to gravitate towards you, right? Nobody wants to be around somebody who's always asking for something and always taking, always sucking up all the resources, right? And so, that would be the number one thing that I would say is find a community that speaks to you, and then give to that community as much as you can. And then those people will rally around you, and they'll gravitate to you, and they'll want to help you, and they'll want to give to you. And before you know it, now your network is growing, right? Your network is growing full of people that you can relate to, that believe in you, that want to support you. So it really starts with finding community and then giving to that community.
Got it. So talk about you give the people the opportunity to make new relevant connections wherever they go. How do you do that? Is this for individuals, for companies? How does that work?
Absolutely. So we list co-working spaces, coffee shops, networking events on our application for people to be able to find different opportunities to go out and meet people. And then once they do, they can check into that space, and they create a profile on PlainSight. They check into that space, and you'll get a notification whenever somebody who you're looking for also checks in to a space that you're in or a space that's nearby, right? Because oftentimes, like, the people who are that we want to connect with are right there in plain sight or in the area that we want to meet, right? And so that's all we're doing, is just helping people curate those connections between each other when they're in these shared spaces, right? And so it's been exciting because of COVID. Not only do we list these physical spaces, but we also list virtual communities on the platform as well, for people to be able to say, oh, this community looks very interesting, or this topic looks interesting. I'm going to check in here and try to meet some of the other people based on the things that I'm looking for and things that I can help people with.
Got it. Now, is this something that is only available in the US, or is it in other regions too?
Yeah, it's available in the US, but it's also available in other countries as well. We don't have physical spaces listed outside of the US. Right now, all of our physical spaces are in the US, but we do have some virtual spaces and remote communities and things of that nature, even outside of the US, for people to be able to join. I mean, we've got people, as close as Canada on the platform, but then also as far as like, there's someone who I just saw that joined the platform, and they are in, I think in Russia. Like there's so like so like there's a lot of people that are all over the place on the app. So yeah, we got that going for us, and we're excited to be able to branch out to other countries and start listing physical spaces in those countries as well.
Right. No, that's awesome. How long has this been in play for you?
Yeah, so we launched this 5 months before the start of the pandemic.
Wow.
So yeah, in 2019, like October 2019, November 2019 is when we first launched. We hit the ground running with travel spaces and co-working spaces and events, and then had to shut all of that down when COVID hit. And now we're excited because things are opening back up, and so we can start to list those same types of spaces again.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. James, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, on social media, I would say I'm at I Wrote the Hustle on all of my social media handles, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. And then our website is plainsight.app, PLAINSIGHT.app. You can find my email address at james@plainsighthq.com.
Awesome. And then the Plain Sight, is that an application too that you can download into your mobile device?
Yep. We're on Android and iOS. So you can just search Plain Sight in your app store, and we'll be the first thing that pops up.
Got it. One thing that I like that you mentioned here, and maybe you can give me more and elaborate more on that, is one thing that people should take away from this, and really just even through your own journey, is that people got to keep showing up every day, and you're not defeated until you quit or get taken out.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on that? Because I think that's a very powerful message.
Yeah. And it goes really back to the conversation we had about the pandemic. Just keep showing up, right? Like tomorrow's not promised, and not every day is going to be a good day, right? Yeah. But if you just keep showing up, then you just keep putting yourself in the fight and allow good things to happen to you and things to come to your way. But the moment you just give up and you throw in the towel, then you miss out on opportunities. You don't know what's going to happen, right? But as long as you keep showing up for the fight, then you put yourself in a good position to win, right? And don't quit. Get knocked out. You know what I mean? If you get knocked out, you get taken out, then whatever. At least you fought. But always keep showing up for the fight, because a lot of times that's when that true perseverance starts to really set in, and that's when you start to overcome those hurdles by keep showing up.
Yeah. What about the cases when people get knocked out one too many times and they're like, man, screw this, I'm done. I'm gonna stay down. How do you get those guys to get up and, hey, gotta do it one more time, because that might be the last time, right?
You got to remember why you joined the fight in the first place, right? And if you still believe the same things where you're knocked down that you did when you were, standing up tall, right? Then that's every reason for you to get back up again, right? And you just keep showing up, and it's going to look different. I think it's okay for people to be able to pivot and switch and change things, but always stay true to yourself. Always stay true to your mission, because there's always a way, right? Like your business or your product or service might not be the best way to solve that problem that you're trying to solve. Change it, iterate it, flip it, whatever, but keep going after the problem and keep staying true to the mission, because down doesn't mean out.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. It reminds me of one of my mentors. He said you have to rehearse, review, and revise. Rehearse, review, and revise, right?
That's
so
right.
Constantly, you got to keep going at it and doing that.
Right.
James, are there any specific things that you do on a day-to-day basis to keep you in a positive mindset?
Yeah, I take my meditation very seriously. I think that really started for me, especially during the pandemic. It was so much noise going around me, and every day was very stressful and hectic and things of that nature. And so I just had to ground myself and realize that, the mental health is so very important. If we don't have a stable mind and a strong mind, then we can't do anything else. And so master the mind, right? Really, really, really take your mental health seriously, and do those little things that will, it doesn't always show up on paper. When you're generating revenue, it doesn't, mental health isn't included anywhere on the spreadsheet, right? But it leads to that. And so for me, keeping my mental health strong, and taking it very seriously, taking my meditation practices and things of that nature very serious, has made all the difference for me. And so I would definitely encourage people to explore that.
Yeah, and taking it that further too, it's not just about your mental health, it's also about your physical health. Sometimes I know for a fact, when I was working a lot of hours, I was neglecting that part of it. And, I felt like I was a walking bomb, just ready to explode, like all these different things going on. And so I think you definitely got to take care of both of those things, right? I do believe, though, the mental health is so critical, and people do not understand or underestimate the power of the mind and what the mind can do. Any particular tips, because I think this is actually so critical, any particular tips that you might have on how to get into that meditative state? Because a lot of people are like, I don't know how to meditate. Like, I don't know how to do this, or what
Yeah.
does that mean? And I know it's different for everybody. I get
Yeah.
that. And I don't think there's a kind of a right or wrong answer, except how do you kind of, any tips that
Where
maybe
do you
you
start
give?
with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That was a struggle for me at first too. I was somebody who's like, I don't get meditation. I'm sitting here, but I'm thinking about all this other stuff,
Right.
so I must not be doing it right. Right? There's no wrong way to meditate, right? You sit there, you close your eyes, you focus on your breathing, you set a timer for yourself, and then you just be and just exist, and it's fine. And one thing that I had to do for myself, because I wanted to get more results from my meditation, is I downloaded an app called Calm. So there's plenty of apps out there.
Right.
Calm is just one of them for people to be able to download and go through guided meditation practices where you have someone talking to you and they're telling you to focus on your breathing, and then there's a message at the end and things of that nature. Or you can listen to like different sounds and things of that nature. But there's no wrong way to meditate, and that's the beauty of it, that anybody can do it, and it can look different for everyone as long as you're sitting within yourself and you're just taking time out, right? That's really what meditation is about, is taking a time out and ignoring all of the noise for just a little bit and sitting with yourself in stillness and in calmness.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What are some new things to expect with your application and things you have going on in the next couple of months?
Yeah, so we're excited because we're going to start hosting in-person brunches and happy hours all across the country.
Wait,
Go
you said happy hours?
Yes, I did.
I'll be there.
There we go. There we go. So we're doing these themed brunches and happy hours all across the country. If you download the app, you'll likely be able to see one of them in your city. So we've got 10 major cities that we're listing them in right now. I think it's like Chicago, DC, Atlanta, Miami. There's a bunch of them. And so essentially all you have to do is you check in, and then once your happy hour or your brunch reaches 50 check-ins, we reveal where the happy hour is going to be.
Oh, cool.
Guest list, right? And so that you can see who all is going to be there with you. You see where to go. We make it a really fun way for people to be able to interact with each other. So we're really excited about our happy hours and our brunches, and they're being listed every day. So check that out.
Wow. No, I love that. I love that. My last question for you, and you've already given us a lot of great nuggets. If people that are listening to this or are watching this are going through any kind of challenge, whatever that challenge might be, what is one thing you can say to them so they can start overcoming that challenge?
I would say just believe in yourself. Don't ever doubt yourself. Don't doubt your abilities. You're here for a reason. There's something that got you to the point that you're at, right? And so the fact that you've made it this far means that you can keep going and you can hit that next milestone. But the moment you start doubting yourself and start doubting your capabilities, then you've already lost, right? So don't stop believing in yourself. There's always a way to solve that problem or overcome that problem. Maybe you haven't figured it out today, right? But you will. But again, you got to keep showing up and keep believing in yourself. You know, the greatest people who've accomplished some of the greatest things, they just have extreme confidence in themselves, right? And they never let their confidence waver. And that's not always easy to do, especially when you're not putting points on the board, right? Right, when where you're failing at some things. But just because you're failing sometimes or some days doesn't mean you're a failure. Everybody's gonna lose. Like losing is a part of the journey, right? And so just keep believing in yourself, believing in your capabilities, and believing in your purpose, no matter what.
Wow, boom, there you have it, man. I love that. Believe in yourself and just everything we talked about. James, I really had a great time speaking to you. Anything else you have before I let you go?
No, man, this was great. Bring me back anytime. Would love to talk with you anytime. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope the listeners grab something useful from the conversation. And I just appreciate sharing space with you and sharing time, man. I thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, awesome. I appreciate that. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Make sure you guys check out James on his social media. Download the app. Go check it out. That happy hour, man. I want to jump on that already.
There we
So
go.
you guys, yeah, you guys definitely got to check that out. And do me a favor. You can actually find us on every platform. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment and share this because somebody needs to hear this message. We'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything. Bye.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.